Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to join CGTN's live on Mount Qomolangma, 5,000 meters above sea level. I'm Jingjing.
And I'm Daniel.
Do you want to introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, so I am from Canada, but I've been living in Shenzhen for 12 years, and I'm here in Tibet on my second trip to Tibet, together with CGTN, just taking a tour. And we were here to take a look at Qomolangma, but obviously the clouds have come over, and the weather changes really quickly here, doesn't it?
Yeah. So why we choose this spot to do the live stream? Because this is a stone, shows how high the Mount Qomolangma is. And actually, behind the stone, an hour ago, you can see the whole Mount Qomolangma. We saw it. We took a lot of footage of the whole Qomolangma, the snow-covered mountain with sunlight shooting directly at it. So beautiful, but like the weather changes dramatically, very fast within 1 hour. So while we are doing this live stream, all the mountains covered by snow again. So you guys are unlucky.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows, maybe 5 minutes after we leave, it's going to be absolutely clear again. That's how quickly things change here.
Yeah. So actually, this stone, you probably can see in this camera, there are so many tourists lining up to take a photo with this stone. On the stone, it says 8,844.43 meters. That's the height of Mount Qomolangma. Scientists measured in 2005.
Right.
Yeah, but actually, just in May this year, a group of scientists remeasured Mount Qomolangma again. So they are still doing the measurement and also maybe have to discuss with the Nepal side. So maybe in a few months, they will release the new number of the new height of Mount Qomolangma.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Is there any preview as to whether they think it will shrink or grow?
That's the part I want to know as well, because if the global warming is really important, affect all of us, the glaciers probably already melt, then the meters probably will be the mountain will shrink.
Yeah.
But
and then on the other hand, I mean, this whole area of Tibet, at least large portions of Tibet, were all under sea before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a process over millions of years where everything was slowly being pushed up. So who knows, maybe it's still being pushed up more a little bit.
So maybe this is the last time we're going to see this number here. Maybe in 1 or 2 months, there will be a new number. Maybe it's 9,000. That's too much.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's too much.
Yeah.
So now we're probably going to switch to Chinese a little bit because we also have some, this live stream is going to also on Chinese platforms. 所以呢，我现在用中文来跟我们在中文社交平台上观看我们直播的朋友们来说一下，我们现在的我是晶晶，这是 Daniel， 我们是雪域路书的红队。现在我们所在的地方呢是珠穆朗玛峰海拔5000米的地方。那现在呢，其实我们选择这个位置是因为本来这个位置是看到珠峰全景的一个最佳的一个点。1个小时前，这还是一个大晴天，你能看到珠峰的全貌，非常的漂亮。我们拍了非常多的这个画面，但是没有想到在直播这个时候啊，来了一大片乌云，开始下起雨了。这也是证明这个珠峰的天气真的是分分钟钟都在变化。
对，会变很快的。上一次我来西藏也是这样子，就是一下就是有很大的太阳的，然后过30分钟下雪了很厉害了，所以也是这样子。有可能我们走了以后5分钟了以后又可以看得很清楚的。
You really need your luck to see the whole mountains.
Yeah.
So we're probably gonna walk down hills. So excuse me, our viewers. I probably will cough from time to time during this live stream because actually we both got sick during our trip.
A few on our team did, yeah.
A few of our people, our team, got sick.
It's not a good time to get sick when you're going up to 5,000 plus meters.
Yeah, and especially with this low oxygen, all of your sickness will be like magnified.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily it wasn't for most of us. I don't know about you. It wasn't as bad as it was a couple of days ago. So we're getting better. But so far I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, except sometimes I cough.
Yeah.
And so basically, what do we got? I think we probably got a flu. And
or just a common cold. It might just be a common cold.
Maybe. I lost my voice after the day I did another live stream at a monastery, and he also got sick. So that's the worst thing gonna happen to you when you're traveling in high altitude places.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna travel to Tibet, I recommend to have a light schedule, have enough relax.
Take your vitamins.
Yeah, take vitamins, take whatever medicine to stop yourself from getting sick.
Right.
Yeah, because it probably will take a much longer time to get well.
Yeah. I mean, the real measure will be trying to sleep at this altitude also, because that's usually the tough thing. I remember when I was sleeping at not this altitude, it was around 4,300 meters, and it is really it's really quite difficult waking up every hour gasping for breath, because obviously your breath slows down as you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you find yourself waking up and gasping for
Well, that's what happened to you.
Yeah, every hour.
Every hour.
And that was the night before I had to go on a 54-kilometer hike, which reached 5,800 meters. So it was really frustrating, because obviously I needed some really good sleep beforehand.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens here. This is even higher than where I slept last time. So
Yeah, let's see whether we can really fall asleep tonight.
Yeah.
Well, so why we want to do this live stream here is because if you have been following CGTN's trip into Tibet, we are the red team. This is an amazing trip. We embarked on the amazing trip from Lhasa to Shikaza. Now we are to base camp. And so we have a lot of other places to go, but we are already halfway in our journey. So during this live stream, we would like to share with you our observations and what we experienced with our conversations with the different monks. So if you are interested in what we learned during this trip, stay tuned. Later we're gonna discuss with you with hot pot. So now we are reaching the parking lot, and me and Daniel, we're gonna hop on into a car, and the car will take us to probably the highest restaurant here, and we're gonna have a hot pot. During the hot pot tonight, don't go away. So basically, we're gonna have the conversation while eating a hot pot. So
spicy hot pot too.
Spicy, yeah. So you better grab some food as well. Otherwise, you're gonna be very hungry.
Yeah.
Watching us eating.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, so our teammate at the restaurant will be waiting for you, and we will come back very soon.
See you in a sec.
See.
Hello guys, this is Ace Liang, and right now I'm in Tibet, and as you can see, here is a hot pot just in front of me, but I cannot eat right now because I'm still waiting for 2 of my team members. Yes, you're right, I'm also one of the team members of the red team of Into Tibet 2020. If you also followed our program, we already in Tibet like 10 days. This is the 10th day of our trip, and today we just arrived at the Mount Qomolangma camp base, and right now I'm right here just in the Rome hotel, and probably this restaurant could be the highest hot pot restaurant in the world, because right now the altitude is about 5,000 meters. And right now I think Daniel and Jingjing, 2 of my team members, they're on the way back to the hotel and waiting for this hot pot, because we already waiting for this hot pot for so many days. And 国内观众朋友们大家好，这里是梁思，然后呢欢迎大家来到我们的直播间。刚刚呢晶晶和丹尼尔在外面可能让大家已经看到了我们的这一个测量杯，他们现在正在往回赶。我们今天呢会在这里跟大家一起聊一聊这10天的旅程当中我们有的一些经历和看到一些人和事。那么我们会一边享用这个美味的火锅，一边来跟大家聊到这些事情。关于到这个火锅的话，我有一个非常重要的信息要说，是因为这个呢可能是我在吃到火锅店中最高的一个火锅了，因为现在我们的海拔呢是大概是5000米左右，然后呢在今天下午的时候我们多多少少都有一点点的这个高原反应，但是到现在呢大家可以看到也是非常精神饱满了现在。So guys, now we are waiting for Jingjing and Daniel. Like they will be here in a minute and to share the experience and the thoughts we got through along the trip. We're in the Tibet. We start our trip like 10 days ago. Start from Lhasa City to Shikaze, and then right now we are in the Dumbril County. And here is also where is the Mount Qomolangma located. And look at the table in front of me. this is a hot pot. Probably we can call it the Sichuan style hot pot because the soup here, probably you guys cannot see, but it's very spicy, I guess. And this kind of delicious flavor just really makes me feel like starving. But don't worry, my team members just on their way right back. And when they're back here, we're gonna share more experience and information we got from the Tibet this trip. And if you keep following our Tibet Into Tibet 2020 this program, you probably got more information and beautiful signs, including beautiful signs and including some videos, some little tips, some informations about the country and about this beautiful, excellent place here. And right now I can see through the window that there are cars right here. And they're gonna be here in a minute. I mean, Jingjing and Daniel, they just introduced some information about Mount Qomolangma right outside. The outside is quite windy and cloudy right now, but this afternoon we really enjoyed the excellent sight of the Mount Qomolangma. I have to share some information, some experience that I got from this afternoon. I was so excited when I saw the Mount Qomolangma just right in front of me, maybe miles away. But you know, guys, I have watched these pictures and videos about Mount Qomolangma thousands of times. There's nothing can compare with what you eat. Oh, they're here! Welcome, Jingjing and Daniel back.
It's a full house.
Guys, the hot party's already.
Wow! Look at this. I'm already hungry.
Oh yeah.
I'm still waiting for you guys. How nice I am.
Thank you, thank you.
All right.
好的，各位观众朋友们，现在我和Daniel已经从山上下来，回到了我们这个荣布寺饭店。现在我们要在，这恐怕是海拔最高的一顿火锅了吧？
我刚刚也是这么说的。
海拔5000米的火锅，你试过吗？我的天，为什么我声音在喘 ？Are you okay?
I'm good. Yeah, you're doing the talking and walking, so you're way more out of breath than I am.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit more?
Yeah, so
So I have time to eat.
That's right. So you were just saying, I think you were just saying it in Chinese, weren't you? Yeah, this is probably the world's highest hot pot. I don't know if we have that as an official stat, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, just across the street from here is the world's highest monastery. That is confirmed.
Yeah, huh?
So I can't imagine that there'd be any hot pots higher than a monastery.
Actually, we want to show you guys more about the scenery, the amazing Mount Qomolangma, but because we are unlucky, all the cloud, all the rain comes again. So now you have just to watch us eating and talking. Sorry.
I'm so suffering for those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I can switch to this microphone, and then I'm going to need this one. So okay, guys, let's eat. And we also have all our other team members eating in this restaurant. They're over there.
They're around us.
Okay, guys. So let's eat and talk. Where's the meat?
The meat is over here. So.
Okay. So I'm surprised they have so many things here on this high altitude.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. What are you going to go for first?
Of course, meat. Because in high altitude, we really need some nutrition, energies to make sure we can survive.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a dispute whether we should be eating spicy while getting over a cold or not. I said, let's go for it. You were a little bit more hesitant.
Okay. Because I got a flu. I got an itchy throat. Itchy throat. Okay.
That's why we made the sauce without spicy for you. And you can try this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see. I've got the spicy one, though.
Yeah, you got a spicy one.
Yeah. So this looks like it's boiling. It's got kind of a rolling boil to it, but I think what a lot of people probably know that the boiling temperature here is going to be much lower.
Yeah.
And it's also very difficult to get the temperature up on your water. When we were boiling water there, it took, what does it take? It takes about 30 or 40 minutes to boil a pot of water.
40 minutes to boil 1 kettle of water.
It's very hot. That's why they give us this cooked beef.
Yeah, because it's safer.
Better.
Yeah, because officially, like the 消毒, what's that in English? Sterilization temperature.
Yeah, so yes.
Is like about 80 or 85 degrees. But the problem is the water here is pretty much boiling before that. So this is way safer to make sure the meat is already cooked. Yeah.
所以呢，我要用中文说了。所以我们现在是在这个高原上吃火锅。今天呢，我们会边吃着火锅，边唱着歌，边聊着天。我们雪域红队的这一路的旅程，如果你有关注 CGTN 的这一段时间的直播的话，您大概已经知道了。我们分为3个队，前往了西藏的不同地方，探索西藏不同的故事。那我们是红队，
红队，
我们从拉萨到日喀则，到今天我们在这个珠穆朗玛峰上，海拔5000米。那明天呢，我们还会去这个荣布寺，也就是
是世界上海拔最高的寺庙去来做直播。那呢，所以如果你想要感兴趣，想要知道这个海拔最高的绒布寺到底长什么样的话呢，明天一定要收我们收我们的直播。但今天呢，在这顿火锅中，我们会聊一聊我们过去这1-2个星期所看到的、经历到的西藏的有趣的故事。Okay, so guys, let's eat.
All right.
Right.
Let's dig in. Just let that float around in there for a bit.
大家都开吃吧。大家已经吃了很久了。
大家已经吃很久了，只有我们在这吃。
Only you were waiting for us.
Okay.
Yeah, only me just waiting here without any food.
Yeah.
I need some vegetables because I think on high altitude we rarely get any fruits or vegetables. Vegetables and fruits are actually much more expensive than meat here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Tibet.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Yeah, all the vegetables would have to be transported in from
Yeah.
pretty far away. I had a follower on my Twitter who said his father was one of the people who built the roads from Chengdu to into Tibet that they used to transport the fruits and vegetables on.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
they were saying that during that time when they were, because Tibet didn't have many fruits and vegetables at that time, there were many people that died on the way because there were landslides, mudslides, all of these kinds of things. And it's a story we don't really hear about much in the West, how much effort everybody went through to make sure that everybody had what they needed.
Yeah, that's an amazing story because, like while we are driving all the way to Tibet, I'm always surprised by the traffic. Like, you see the roads. You came here several years ago. Like, I came here several times in the past few years. Every time we came here, we see new roads, fantastic new roads in, like, all over the mountains.
Yeah.
And I was like, how could it happen? Like, how could someone just magically build like highways or railways or like roads in such a like low oxygen and high altitude places?
It's even more amazing for somebody from Canada where it takes us a very long time to finish anything. But you're right. 4 years ago I came here. The trip from Lhasa to Shigatse was 7 hours. On this trip it was 5 hours. And in a couple of years when they finish the entire length of the highway, it's going to go down to 3 hours. Like that's amazing.
But the roads, traffic is really important for like a remote and relatively poor area like Tibet and many other like provinces in the west of China. In Chinese, there's a saying called 要想富先修路. So to really lift people out of poverty, you need to build roads first.
Yep.
Because that's how people can get out and like materials or food or everything people can like commute to the outside world.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen places like that in other areas, like in Jiangxi province and things like that. When a high-speed rail station opens or when a highway opens there, it transforms the entire city. So yeah, definitely essential. Maybe we should dig in a little bit.
Yeah.
It looks like
sure.
this,
It's really totally different with what we
it is, because you look at the vegetable, it would be way more soft than that by now in a low-altitude environment.
But this is like still like uncooked.
And it looks like there's a rolling boil.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try a piece of this meat because, as you said, this is already cooked anyways.
Okay, this is a piece of beef. I have some sauce in my bowl.
So you notice it doesn't feel as hot also. Coming out of a hot pot that looks like it's boiling at low altitude, when you put that in your mouth, it would burn you, but it's not very hot.
Yeah, like I'm a Chinese that loves hot pot and spicy food. So what I want is like hot pot like as hot as possible. So whenever I went to we lost one light. Okay. That's what's gonna happen here because they don't really have enough electricity here on this high. So they only provide some electricity at night. So like we were in the dark like the whole day, you remember.
Well, considering what you just said about this, that it's coming out like this, I think maybe we should call this somewhat hot pot. Almost hot pot.
almost,
Almost hot pot.
Warm pot.
Well, somewhere between warm and hot. I wouldn't go as low as warm.
Still be spicy for me.
Really?
Yeah. You don't feel spicy?
No. Come on. From Hunan, no? This is not right.
Hunan people, maybe. That's what my friends called me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electricity stops, then it's gonna take even longer time for us to.
Oh, that's right. So the electricity for this has gone off now.
It's still working? I'm wondering.
It's really hard to eat anything hot in high altitude.
And it cools down very quickly when you take it out also. Because when I was drinking warm water, which you were making fun of me for. I said, you're taking all this medicine for your cold. I said, just drink some hot water. I'm way more Chinese in that sense. This is like, and but what I notice is when you pour it out, it cools down in this atmosphere a lot quicker also.
Yeah.
Not only because the temperature is lower, but definitely because of the atmosphere.
I think this pot is not working right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rolling. Just stop.
可以有人递我杯水吗？这个可以有人递我杯水吗？
但是还是很烫。
Yeah. So while our guys fixing the electricity, we can still continue our conversations.
Yeah.
Back to about the traffic, the development in Tibet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think remember the few days ago we were in Tashilumpo Monastery. We
Right.
talked about the Qomolangma living Buddha.
Right.
Yeah, but in Chinese, people call him like Qomolangma living Buddha. 谢谢. But actually, I think in English people tend to call him Qomolangma Rinpoche. If I
Yeah,
remember
there
right.
was quite a debate on my Twitter about that, where people were saying that actually that's not the accurate translation.
Yeah. He's the second reincarnation of Qomolangma Rinpoche, but in Chinese, his name, even on his Weibo, his recognized name is Qomolangma Living Buddha.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember, like he told us first, like how he's 29. Like he saw the development since he was 5, all these years.
Yeah.
Because remember when he was a kid, it takes probably a day traveling from his city to Lhasa.
Mm-hmm. Shigatse to Lhasa, yeah.
Yeah, but now it only takes like a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that's the story. Yeah, that's the story of. I mean, that's the story of all around China. But like you said, it's even more remarkable to be able to do that at this altitude with all of the constraints of the environment. And I think, if I remember correctly, when we were on our way to Shigatse, the driver was saying that they only have a few months per year that they can also work on the road.
oh yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Only in the summer.
Yeah.
Probably I think from May to August or September.
Yeah, September.
That's the time like the weather is relatively comfortable.
Yeah.
Like now,
The best
more
time of Tibet.
oxygen and not too cold. Because I've been here in winter, it was horrible. Like no one could survive in winter.
Yeah, I mean, it's already quite, even now it's quite dry, but you were saying in winter it's even more dry.
Yeah.
I mean, the number one product for everybody here is the lip balm, making sure that...
Yeah, I remember like our other teammate Manu, French reporter. He kept buying several lip balms, like chapsticks, going through different supermarkets. So yeah,
And I just keep it with me all the time with me.
Yeah.
it's so dry.
So
because-
dry.
Yeah, I remember in the winter I came here in January. It was the coldest time. So how dry it was, like every breath I breathe in, like I got this hurt in my nose and it's bleeding all the time.
Yeah.
So I have to put the lip balm inside my nose. It doesn't look good, but I have to put that in my mouth to stop the bleeding, to stop the hurt, so I can like breathe.
Yeah. You were saying another good idea too is when you have the boiling water to breathe in some of the steam also to moisturize the.
Yeah, I think one of the local girls told us this, like because it's so dry, in your nose. So sometimes we just have a cup of hot water, so we breathe in the steam.
Yep.
So just relieve the dryness in our
Yep.
nose.
That's a good idea.
That works quite well. I just tried this afternoon and it works absolutely fine.
There you go. I said hot water cures everything, doesn't it?
So is this your first time to base camp, like Mount Qomolangma?
Yeah, I didn't come this way. I went to Mount Kailash, which is a different direction and much further west. So this is my first time here. The scenery on the way here was very similar to going to Mount Kailash. Yeah.
How do you feel about this time?
Yeah, good. So far, so good. Sleeping is what I'm worried about. Is what happens when you're trying to sleep. You're gonna, because like I said earlier on, when I was at 4,200, 4,300 meters sleeping, wake up every hour gasping for air. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
就是如果中文平台的朋友，如果大家也有常看这个 YouTube 的话，大家可能也看到这个 Daniel 的一些 Vlog。他以前就做了很多 Vlog， 这次的西藏之旅也做了很多 Vlog， 记录了我们的行程。那这也是他第一次来到这个珠穆朗玛峰 Base Camp 大本营这个位置。虽然他以前也去冈仁波齐转山，但到这个珠峰大本营还是第一次。但我们 团队多多少少都会有一点点高反吧，都会有一点高反。虽然可以工作，可以干活，但是像 Daniel 说的，可能睡觉是最难的。
对，
因为你在可能大脑缺氧的时候，大脑会高度活跃，所以基本上睡觉的时候每1小时都会醒来一次，甚至你可能大脑觉得你可能要窒息了，会把你整个唤醒。所以可能睡觉对我们来说是高反中很难处理的一个
是的，很难克服。就是这一次是我第2次来到西藏，可是尽管是第2次来到西藏，我在的头1、2天的时候，还是在拉萨的时候，我就有非常严重的高原反应，我没有办法睡觉。就是 at the same, I told you when we were in Lhasa, I cannot sleep, and you too, right? Remember? Like 4 hours sleep for a day.
That's right. Yeah.
That's very short sleep time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sleeping. I think everybody has this sleeping problem.
Yeah.
And us got cold.
Yep.
Got a cold.
Yep.
Got flu.
And there's a couple other people too. Yep.
Yeah.
On the trip. So that's the worst thing to have during this time.
Yeah. The last time I came here in Tibet, last January, I also got a cold, and I went really high.
Yep.
I was lucky that I survived.
Yeah.
I'm sure I will survive this time as well.
Right. Yeah, but what about headaches? We should talk about, almost everybody had a headache on the first couple of days in Lhasa, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have headache?
Yeah. And I have a little bit today, but the first day landing in Lhasa was really intense. I didn't have that the first time around, but I kind of slowly worked my way up. I went to, the last time I came to Tibet, I went to Shangri-La first and did some hiking there. And then after a couple of days, then went to Lhasa. So because I worked my way up, it was no problem. Even in the gym, in the hotel in Tibet, in Lhasa, I was doing the exercise. So yeah, that's
doing the exercise.
Yeah, I was on the elliptical machine.
Yeah.
Okay, the electricity is back. We're gonna have a hot pot again. Good.
Yeah, gotta let it heat up a little bit again. It probably lost a lot of temperature during it.
Okay, I'm gonna review my Superman shirt.
Oh, I thought you weren't wearing red because you said you were talking about red team, and when you were saying that, I was like, I'm the only one wearing red here, though.
I'm sorry, I don't have red
clothes.
Yeah, I'm a superwoman.
We're the super team.
Super team.
Super team, yeah.
But we need more representation of red.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
I will. Because this is 5,000 meters above sea level. This is not the highest place we're gonna go.
Yeah.
In next week, we're gonna go to even higher, 6,600 meters above sea level. That's one of the glaciers. So if you want to see us conquer or suffer, stay tuned because we're gonna go even higher next week.
I think watching us suffer is probably more interesting. We're like, I gotta see this.
I think probably based on the looks, you already see us. You probably already figured out that we are suffering. See Daniel? See his hair? He didn't do his hair.
Yeah, you get lazy up at this altitude.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you're thinking about when you're trying to survive is combing your hair.
Yeah.
Even for a live stream. I'm sorry, guys, but.
You didn't shave either.
Yeah, no, that's deliberately. This is UV protection, right?
UV protection. Wow.
Yeah.
Really...
So if you're curious what Daniel gonna look like after this entire trip, will he look like a homeless person? Maybe.
Homeless
Stay
person,
tuned.
I'm halfway there. I think halfway there.
Halfway there.
Yeah. Me the same. Kind of giving up on washing my hair, putting on lipsticks.
Yeah.
And especially I got sick, so I look pale. I look sick. No, but not pale because of the sunlight. Already, my nose and my forehead is already peeling because of sunburn. And
about the sunburn, yeah. Just look at my hands because I didn't put any sunscreen here. Then this is the difference of the
colors.
hands of my face. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so different, isn't it?
That is. I'm about 5 shades darker also. I've only got a bit of peeling on the forehead. Luckily not on the nose. But those are the places that are, if you watch those sailors, when they're going out on the ocean sailing, they cake the sunscreen on really thick, especially on their nose. You can see the white layer of sunscreen. They don't rub it in until you can't see it anymore. They put a full layer and you can see the white layer of sunscreen on it because that's the easiest place to get sunburn.
Yeah, already. My nose definitely peeling. And we have another editor who is behind the camera. The guy, his faces have several different colors.
Yeah, like a wear a mask all the time, but actually,
like a mask burn, like a glasses burn,
and I've got it even worse because you see the size of my nose. It's like a giant solar panel. So it's even easier. So I'm making sure I'm putting a lot of sunscreen on my nose.
Okay. So I just put some meat and vegetables in it. And if you want to know what we saw, any stories that about Tibet that you particularly interested in, leave a comment on CGTN's networks. We will try to answer during this live streams. And also later we're gonna announce some of the winners for the prize, because before we embarked on this trip, we said we gonna send some gifts. There were like pins, CGTN pins, and there were also scarves, and also some poster cards that stamped by the highest post office here on base camp. It's already been stamped. So we already chose those people who already left comments on our CGTN social networks. So later during this live stream, I'm gonna announce the names. So guys, it's boiling.
Yeah, there we
It's
go.
boiling.
Boiling. It's probably not.
Shall we?
It's probably only in the 80 degrees or so.
Everybody's finding their meat.
Yeah.
I don't know whether those people in front of camera, whether you have something to eat. Otherwise, you're
Probably
gonna.
you can share your dinner with us on the
Yeah,
comments.
what are you eating now? We're eating hot pot
Yeah.
on 5,000 meters above sea level. What are you eating?
Yeah.
Just have more that.
这不是，这是我开始的。对对对，不算，就33分钟。
Here is very good.
Yeah, soft. I think when you see that rolling boil, you're going to lose liquid really quickly.
Yeah.
And like we said, it's probably only in the 80s, 80 degrees or so.
Yeah. What are you eating? Leave if you can take a photo. Leave in the comment section. Let us jealous.
I think we're quite content with this. We had instant noodles for lunch, so this is a step up.
Yeah.
Much better than the lunch, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, for lunch we only had instant noodles.
So a lot of people, I noticed when I was posting on my social media, the most curious thing everybody was talking about was how long it takes to adjust and everything like that.
Yeah.
So continuing our conversation about having a headache, because I'm sure there's a lot of other people, after everything travels all back to normal, they're going to want to come too. So for you guys, how long did it take you to not have your headache anymore?
2 days for me.
Exactly the same for me too.
Actually, I didn't have any headache.
Oh, that's your top. You're so
Super.
tough.
That's why she's wearing the Superwoman.
Yes,
thing.
yes. But I got sick.
Almost Superwoman.
But I came here several times, so maybe my body already know how to adapt to low oxygen quickly. So look, when we were in Lhasa and Shikase, as long as I don't walk like really fast, I will be fine. And my oxygen, I checked the oxygen in my blood, 93% is pretty high.
Oh.
Yeah, heartbeat
Okay.
around 100, sometimes even like around 80 or 90. So pretty good. Yeah. But I got sick after the day. We have a super packed day with shooting vlogs and live stream, several things. I've been talking all day. So the next day I lost my voice.
Right.
Tired.
So
Yeah.
probably it's also tell us a very important information. Whatever, how many times you come to this plateau, you still need to get well prepared before you come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch out all the time, I think.
Yeah.
Watch out carefully with what you feel and what you feel about everything. Like if you got a little bit headache, don't think, oh, I'll be all right, I'm strong enough. Just get some medicine.
Yeah.
That's
Or
very
yeah.
important.
And exercise-wise, just making sure you're not pushing yourself in terms of doing anything stupid like I did, like going to the gym. And but I was okay. I was okay. Not this trip. The last trip to Tibet.
Don't go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like for the first time who came to Tibet, don't even shower. Don't even wash your hair the first 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, no, days.
Okay.
2
Yeah.
or 3
You're
weeks,
gonna scare people.
Even
Yeah.
though that makes you look maybe dirty, but don't worry, everybody look the same at the plateau.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that from actually a couple of people before I came. They said it's important not to shower in the first couple of days. Something about, I don't know if it's about getting your hair wet or something like that. I haven't looked into the science of it, but I've heard people say that multiple times over and over again.
I think it really depends on your like physical conditions. For people who came like here first time, because hot shower really like accelerate your circulation, so may like
Okay.
consume more oxygen. Second is the temperature in Tibet just changes
like a lot within a day. Even like in the day, it's really hot, but at night it could be really, really like it's really freezing.
Yeah.
So when you take a shower, you could easily like get a cold, and that's the thing we don't want to get.
Exactly.
And that's the thing we got.
Yeah.
Exactly the things you guys got.
I think for everybody else, it was more or less the same too. I've heard that for the people who did get a headache, it was more or less 2 days. And it doesn't hit you until usually the night, because I know a lot of us got off of the plane, and we were all like, "Oh yeah, I'm tough," you know, I have no problem with it here. But it usually hits you in at night. I think it was Oscar, was it? On one of the other trips?
Yeah, that's Oscar.
It's the same thing. And so on his vlog, he was saying the same thing. He was saying, "Oh, no problem." And then he has an update from the night where he's sitting there saying, "Oh, no, this is not good." Yeah. So what were the other interesting things for this on this trip for you so far up to here? For me, I think one of the most interesting things for me was the hospital.
The hospital, really?
The hospital visit, yeah.
Yeah, all of us visited one Tibetan hospital, traditional Tibetan hospital, and Daniel made a vlog about it. So if you watch it, you probably know something about it. But of course, we're gonna talk about this experience. So why the hospital is one of the most important things that left great impressions to you?
Yeah, I mean, there was a number of things. I mean, there were obviously some overlaps in terms of Chinese traditional medicine and Tibetan traditional medicine, but still, even so, Tibet had its own distinct form of medicine, form of practicing medicine. And so it was interesting to see that preserved. It was interesting to see how all of their medical books, which go back 1,000 years that they were saying, were all preserved, and they continue to update it, and even updating it to include things like with the current pandemic, COVID-19. And so whether I believe in traditional medicines or not, I'm not sure. I don't say I don't believe in them, and I don't say I do believe in them. But, you know, Tibet had no COVID-19 cases at all. And during that time, this thing was manufactured in mass, millions and millions of them. And everybody in Tibet was wearing them. And so when I asked, I was kind of half joking when I was asking some of the locals. I was saying, do you think there's no COVID cases here because you guys were all wearing this? But they say, yeah, maybe. They don't say for sure, but they say it might have something to do with it. Even in people's cars, they were having this, there's a mix of 10 different ingredients in here. They had it in their car. So I don't know if you guys noticed in the cars we were traveling in, on the back they had a small bag and they had exactly this in it. So that was interesting for me. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that go into it where in Tibet it's a much more spread out population, so you're not going to have as much of a problem compared to densely populated cities. But then the bloodletting practices that they do, eating the medicine and then seeing the videos of them letting the blood out in certain areas, seeing kind of the black blood come out and then turn to red, and then they know that's when to stop it. The fact that there was a lot of Tibetan language also. You know, even the chief of the hospital was afraid that his Mandarin wasn't going to be good enough to do the interview with us. Because their day-to-day operations are pretty much in Tibetan language. So obviously most of the patients that are going there are Tibetan, but they do have some Han Chinese patients going there
especially
as well.
Those Tibetan patients, they are the villagers who live near the hospital, and most of the villagers didn't know how to speak Mandarin at all. They only speak Tibetan. So when we interview those patients, there's a doctors who are doing the translation for us, right? So it's
there's that one sweet lady with the Tibetan hat. She was. You didn't see her when she was leaving. Because so before she was saying she had difficulty walking, but now she can walk with the acupuncture she was doing. But when I was heading back up the stairs to film the second floor again, she was coming down and she was saying something to me. I didn't understand it, but she was very smiling and stuff like that. And I'm assuming what she said is "Hao just I'm okay now. I'm okay now." And so and then she was so happy and smiling when she was leaving. So that was a nice experience.
Very good thing to see.
Yeah, I noticed ever since we visited the hospital, you have this thing on all the time.
I feel, again, I don't know whether it works or not. Excuse me. It didn't stop that. But I like it. I think it has meaning. It's a conversation starter too. You know, I found when I'm out on the streets, some Tibetans, local Tibetans, will look at me and say, "Oh, you've got this." I said, "Yeah, it's Zhang Yao," and they're like, "Oh, yeah," and then it's a good conversation starter. And that's one of the things I came here for, was just to talk with the locals and interact with the locals. And then, so I don't have it on now, but I've got also that bracelet that we got from the temple, from the Living Buddha, or however you translate it correctly into English. And so that's another, conversation starter. I think by the time I leave here, I'm going to be decked out with all kinds of Tibetan stuff, and they're going to start speaking to me in their local in the local Tibetan language.
You could say you look like a Tibetan.
Ah, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Well, interesting. So yeah, indeed, like when we were in the Tibetan hospital, no matter it's the blood thing they did or this necklace, some people probably gonna say there's no scientific proof. Of course, we don't know whether it's really there's scientific background, but we do know it's working here. It's working for those patients. Those patients who got those kind of treatment indeed didn't get COVID-19. Their legs got much better. They can walk now. So,
yeah, I think at the end of the day, I don't think you can have something that you do for 1,000 years, and when you see how they continually update and evolve the book that they're working on from 1,000 years ago, it's not that they're using a book from 1,000 years ago that has never changed. They're continually updating it with their observations. I don't think it's possible to do something for 1,000 years like that and not have it actually be useful. Like it must actually have some merit to it after that period of time. I think probably there's a potential for people to take advantage of it in terms of, saying that, this is Chinese medicine or whatever. So I think that's important to have some controls around it in terms of making sure that this is a legitimate place practicing Tibetan medicine or Chinese medicine or whatever. I think it's potentially a little bit harder to do that with Western medicines. But for the ones who are practicing it correctly, I really think there must be something to it.
So that's a story of Daniel. That's the most impressive things for you.
That is.
In this 10-day trip.
Right? That is.
10th day, right? This is the 10th day of our trip, right? Yeah. It's 10 days. Yeah. I guess because we started 7th of August, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And speaking of the changing things, I think I would like to go back a little bit because we just mentioned about the traffic, the transportation, and the vegetable as well. But I just get information that the vegetables and the fruits, the price of them just getting cheaper than before because of the transportation. Because of the transportation, everything is getting more convenient. So then we can get a lower price of those kind of things.
Right, and then of course we visited the greenhouses also.
Yeah,
they had 186 or something like that greenhouses, massive greenhouses, where they're growing tropical fruits, like passion fruit, in Tibet.
They're even growing some vegetables and fruits I've never seen.
Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah.
And then so they have these sophisticated computer systems which are controlling the temperature, the light, the humidity, everything. It's controlled perfectly, and they can grow pretty much anything.
Yeah. I think we bought some watermelons and a peach. Guys, just imagine we bought those kind of fruits on a plateau. That's very amazing.
The watermelon we were eating with the yellow inside, was that from there?
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, that's good. So because of those new technologies, those new greenhouses, people in Tibet now have they have more varieties of food to choose, more healthy. Because in old times in this altitude, you have very limited food. Meat, of course, and those chinke,
right,
some grains.
Yeah, exactly.
But fruits and vegetables are luxurious. But now, we can have balanced nutrition. But speaking of this hospital, because you mentioned this this book, those doctors being passed on for hundreds of years.
Right.
And it's all written in Tibetan, and those doctors adding notes, all kinds of notes on the books. Yep. And we saw them communicating with patients in Tibetan. That brought me to think why there are some rumors. People are saying the Tibetan language and Tibetan culture is being wiped out. Well, we definitely seeing everywhere we go. There were Tibetan language, Tibetan road signs, Tibetan newspapers, Tibetan medicine books, locals talking in Tibetan. We even learned some Tibetan phrases from the locals, right?
Yeah, no, it's a common theme that happens around China. I mean, they're talking about the same thing in Xinjiang also. Yeah. And it's been a curiosity of mine. I've engaged some of those people, and they say it's an act for tourists, which is like, I mean, who's going to show up in a Tibetan hospital, or who's going to put these signs up just especially for tourists? It is a weird thing. I think people get a belief in their minds, and it doesn't matter what they encounter thereafter. They've already decided this is what they want to believe. But I think that's the best thing you can do, is just show the truth. Just walk around and show what's happening. I think the people who are never going to accept that as fact will never accept it. But at least the people that they're convincing, the people who are just looking for information out there, is equipped with balanced information where they can say, okay, something's not right here.
Yes. It just reminds me of the old saying which said, you never can awake a person who are pretending sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting, because I mean, I've been covering China topics since late last year on my channels, and you get a lot of people annoyed when you're talking about positive things about China, because they're looking for negative things from China.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the community surrounding Tibet, in terms of trying to convince people that Tibet is not a prosperous place, or Tibet has all these problems. They are the most active and energetic community I've ever encountered.
Really? You mean those, the group that kind of support Free Tibet crowd? Something like that, or most of them are, because they have a vested interest. Their whole life, they've been shouting that phrase. They've been talking about Free Tibet, and they have this vested interest in believing in that. So when you post something on your social media moments that shows happy people, like I posted a picture of a guy well-dressed making a traditional Tibetan knife. How innocent is that? How innocent is that? Yeah. And it turned into this whole thing about, into this political argument.
Yeah.
So and I've heard other people say this before, where they're convinced that I have some overseas Tibetan friends who are a little bit more balanced in their topics, and they say that the most offensive thing for them is not to see anything other than poverty and suffering in Tibet. It's a shock to their identity and their reality and their sense of understanding.
Yeah, I remember, because you cover a lot of China-related issues like Hong Kong protests, Uyghur, Xinjiang stuff, and now Tibet. And we talk about it because now, it's the same for my account. Both our social network accounts got attacked by or anti those things. So and among those different groups, you say the one who is can't accept the fact that Tibet is prosperous, so it's getting better and better. Are the most energetic one.
They're the most energetic. I mean, once. You just have to post something of a picture of a happy Tibetan, and it will trigger these people. But I have to tell you that it's really important to note that an overseas Tibetan community that's a little bit more positive about China, nobody sees that. It's not that they don't exist. It's that when they speak up, they get attacked by their own community. So the person that I've been talking to a lot in Europe, he has a lot of positive. He went on a journey. He came over. He was born overseas in the Tibetan exile community overseas, and he came to China. He spent 10 years here. He started learning about the Chinese philosophies like the Tao Te Ching and stuff like that. And he made sure the most important thing he did was when he came, he cleared all of his preconceptions about China, and he's very, very positive about China now. So he doesn't really get into discussions overseas about this because he'll be attacked. Even if somebody asks him, he says, what was your time like in China? And he says, I was treated really well. I was treated, and I had a really positive experience. That angers them. And so from afar also he gets threats and things like that. And there's an irony there too, because this is the same community that's trying to convince you that's what China does.
Yeah. That's
what the Chinese government does. And meanwhile, this is what they're doing to silence anybody who says anything different than them overseas. Yeah. So again, it's not that these communities don't exist. It's that it's very difficult.
I think it's the same situation with the Hong Kong issues, because during that time, people, especially in Western media, you heard a lot of voices from protesters how unsatisfied they are with the government. But actually, there are a lot of Hong Kongers. They really support China, and they really hate the protesters because
they ruin their like normal day life.
It's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, my eldest son, he went to school in Hong Kong for a couple of years, and we came back to Shenzhen. And when this Hong Kong stuff was happening, and I started doing some social media stuff on that, some of his classmates' parents from years ago, they saw some of my videos. It was apparently reshared on Facebook. And they reached out to me and they said, wow, thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, I can't speak up. I can't say anything because they'll be attacked if they speak out against the protesters. And then she was also asking me about Shenzhen. She was saying, what are the schools like in Shenzhen? We're thinking of moving over to Shenzhen. I helped. So I had another friend who was a mainlander from Chongqing originally. He was a lawyer in Hong Kong. And his kids were in international school there. And he didn't feel safe there anymore. And I helped him. I have a cross-border car. I literally helped him move over. So this is stuff that I was seeing and I was hearing. And that's what gave me the drive to say, okay, you know what? This is not right. They're not allowed to speak up about this. So I'm going to do it. And obviously, so that attracted a lot of interesting comments and haters, trolls, stalkers, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to give this, especially with the global conversation right now being so anti-China, that is overwhelmingly what people hear. Yeah. And so when I put my stuff out, people don't need to believe what I'm saying, but at least there needs to be some other information that's going out there so people can balance and they can choose themselves. I don't care if people believe me or not, but at least I think that information should be available out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. The things you are doing
Very
is
interesting conversation,
yeah.
but while you guys were talking, I've been eating all
So
the time.
you take over
take over.
and give us a chance to.
It's really boiling. Good.
But low temperature boil.
It's fine. It's already well cooked. I will try it for you guys. Yeah.
While you guys talking.
I think you were supposed to be taking over now.
Yeah,
This is
Last bite. So far, we've been here for 10 days. We visited several different places, like the Tongka Center.
Oh, that was really nice too.
Yeah. So, like, I can't find a word to describe how amazing Tibetan culture it is. It's just so beautiful, and Tongka is one of the amazing art of Tibetan culture. It's basically it's the painting, but normally people paint religious stories or Buddhas on the kind of like cloth. So if it's a Buddha, then people can roll it and carry it all the way. It's easier to carry. So Tongka is amazing art that sometimes it requires like decades to train a master. So it's very, very amazing art. Like a lot of not mainlanders, like people from other provinces, they are also like attracted by this art. But to me, I think the time we visited the Tongka Center in Lhasa, it's a Tongka Center for China actually. At first, I was amazed. We were all amazed by the yard. It used to belongs to one of the noble families who fled China after 1959, but they still kept this yard, very traditional Tibetan yard, and transformed it into a Tongka Center. So in this center, they train like the whole process, how to make the ingredients to paint, teach people how to paint, different styles, and then like the whole process is just in one yard, one center. And I think, of course, some like the amazing techniques amaze me, but I think I was especially amazed by one style which has lost for 500 years, but they are able to find it back. They're reviving this losing like style for 500 years. The guy we talked to, he's a Tibetan guy, and he's an entrepreneur, but he's giving the money to help those artists to inherit, to learn to this technique. And he told me, because this art has been lost for 500 years, they want to revive it. How to do it? They have to go through 6,000 Tongkas in Patala Palace and find the styles, how to draw this Buddha, how like all the techniques, all the standards, and then write it in the like a textbook. They want to make a textbook and write a report for there will be a group of experts review this report, and luckily maybe at at the end of this year or next year, this book will be published. And that report, once the report is published, it will be like a textbook for all students who want to learn this style has lost 500 years. That amazed me. Like, people keep saying Tibetan culture is being wiped out, but actually those people are actually finding those lost arts because of the turbulence in the history, and actually Chinese government sends millions of money to them to help them to restore these arts.
Yeah, that was interesting. That it's not only a place to practice Tanka, but it's also a revival center of sorts to bring back all of these ancient kind of arts. So it's again the opposite of what is being said overseas, where there's a degradation of culture, there's a reduction of these things. It's actually the opposite. They're bringing back things to life that have been lost for 500 years.
If you guys don't mind, I just speaking some Chinese because we also got the Chinese.
Oh, right,
viewers.
yeah.
所以刚刚晶晶跟我们分享了，就是我们之前在拉萨的时候，我们在那个有一个唐卡学院，其实那个是一个200多年的历史建筑，叫夏扎大院。然后那个历史建筑不仅是非常的漂亮，而且它里面呢会有一整套学习如何制作唐卡的流程，包括前期的这个颜料的制作，因为他们都用的是矿物质的一些纯天然的颜料，这样唐卡才能千年经久不衰。然后呢，包括后期的绘制，包括一些以前已经流失已久的技术的找回，都是在这么一个小小的院子里就是产生了这一切。然后当然政府也有给到一些足够的支持。
对，就是因为可能国外一些可能黑中国的一些人总会说
西藏文化
这个西藏文化正在被消失，正在被这个怎么样不被重视。但其实我们逛的那个唐卡艺术中心，
对，
他们不仅在认真的传承每一个唐卡绘画艺术，他们甚至去重新复活修复了一个已经失传了500多年的一个唐卡派别。这个唐卡派别呢，专家们为了恢复这个唐卡的派别呢，他们浏览了大概6000多张唐卡，然后找寻这个规律，然后准备去写成一个新的教材来教新的学生，想要学习这个艺术的一些学生。而且呢，这个唐卡艺术中心得到了其实国家的非常非常多的资金的帮助，所以其实我觉得谣言不攻自破。你看到说这些文化就是在这里，这些文化不仅是已经存在的文化正在被传承，甚至消失的文化都在被复活、
被找回、被发扬光大、被传承。他们会有更多的时间去做这些，会有更多的精力和资金以及人才培养来为我们的西藏的这些艺术文化做一些贡献。
所以我想我们这趟旅程，其实我们就是想探寻不同的西藏的文化，走到不同海拔的这个西藏人家，探寻不同的这个西藏的故事，呈现给大家看，让大家看看西藏就是这么美，西藏就是这么好。那人们有着他们的宗教自由，他们有着非常充满活力、非常漂亮的这个艺术，值得人们去不断的去继承、去发扬。那当我们把这些故事展现出来的时候，我相信外界对于我们中国的误解，对于西藏的误解，这些谣言也就不攻自破了。
对
，Get it?
Yeah. 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 The other thing too, I think it was a quick stop, so it might be easy to forget about. But you got quite emotional in the British Invasion Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little bit emotional. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad story. I mean, with the British geologist who came and befriended the people here, only to make out these maps in order for the British Army to come back and be able to invade, and the kind of slaughtering of 700 Tibetans in one go, who refused to let them pass. Yeah, it was. As you were saying, China has gone through a lot. A lot in the past in terms of what you're continually calling the century of humiliation, and that was one of the pieces where the British Army came in and did all of those things, and then eventually when they fought for 3 months in Shigatse and then arrived in Lhasa, requested compensation for their losses while they were slaughtering Tibetans.
Yes.
And then so it was the Qing dynasty. It was the Qing dynasty that had to pay what was, I think, the equivalent of 500,000 pounds at that time, which would be worth a lot more right now. And so I guess that would be an easy thing to get get upset about.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this part of history in Tibet, like painful history. The British Army invaded Tibet twice. One in 1888. Yeah, another time is 1904. Twice. So. And during those 2 times, they slaughtered thousands of Tibetans. The first time in 1888, that's like before that they invaded India. They invaded, like, conquered colonized part of Southeast Asia, so they want to expand their like territory.
Yeah, it was the one guy from the East Asia Trading Company who wanted to. Yep.
So he targeted Tibet. So he sent some scientists to Tibet to get to know the culture, to be friends with locals, to know the geography, everything.
Yep.
And he drew a detailed map. And all the customs of local people back to with his British officials, and then so that became the official very important materials for British Army to study Tibet, and they know how to invade them. So the first invasion, they came here, they slaughtered a lot of people. Tibetans were fighting with them, but because back in that time, British Army got much better equipments, guns. So of course Tibetans lost, and also Qing dynasty back then was very weak. So they kind of agreed to give some area of Tibet to the British, but then the local Tibetans didn't agree. So they don't want to accept this unfair treaty. So the British got pissed. So they started another invasion in 1904.
Right.
And that's a very horrifying war. They killed thousands of Tibetans, and even a genocide, because they pretend to be friendly talk. We want a peace. Because the British Army can't adapt to the weather, low oxygen. So maybe we'll have a talk with some Tibetans. We're friendly talk how to sort it out. But actually, it was an ambush. They slaughtered a lot of Tibetans. So and eventually, Tibetans lost again. So the British asked money from the Tibetan local government. Of course, local government cannot afford that. So the Qing dynasty paid the 500,000 pounds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big amount of money.
At that time, yeah, definitely.
所以可能很多的观众朋友们不知道，就是其实西藏当时是被英军以及英军所属的印度军所侵略过2次，在历史上。
2次，英军侵略过西藏2次，一次是1888年，一次是1904年。
是的，而且每一次他的伤亡都挺惨重的，而且在最后就是无数的，包括我们当时还有叫什么僧兵，就是僧人也是作为士兵去上战场。但是你知道那个时候，西藏是比较落后的，咱们当时用的那个枪都是一个非常落后枪，他们都是来福。
对，当时西藏人用的都是那种火药枪，但是英国的武器都是这种来福枪，
对，还有大炮，然后直接就把我们的一些很珍贵的一些寺庙啊给炸掉了。但是当时候的我们西藏人民真的是非常的浴血奋战，即便是在如此艰难的环境下，在这么少的这样一些物资的供给下，他们还是非常坚挺的，就是作战到最后。有一些僧兵甚至在江孜县那一场战役当中，是直接当他们发现战败之后，他们直接从崖上就跳下去了，就是以身献国了。
So that reminds me of, I told you about this one guy on Twitter, he kind of trolled me, maybe not troll, he's kind of definitely against what I said.
Yeah.
Even though I just published that we visited the Tashlumpo monastery, we visited, we had friends, the Tibetan girl as our friends, very innocent stuff, and he really this guy, his account name is English. And then his description says, proud Londoner or something, an ex-military. And he left a comment on my Twitter says, oh, free Tibet or something. But I was like, where did you get a moral high ground? Because your country invaded and slaughtered Tibetans twice, thousands of Tibetans. Yeah. But now you're saying... You want
there's a lot of I think some people they don't hear themselves when they're speaking. I think one of the most interesting comments for me on my YouTube comments was the one you saw it, where he said that he's trying to explain their anger. He says, of course, if we lose all of our big homes and our slaves, of course we're going to be upset. He basically
He's not even hiding.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was a slip or, maybe his buddies said to him, hey, that's not the part you're supposed to say out loud. But I think underneath it all, there was a big element of that, is that, there was an extreme imbalance in wealth. There was an extreme exploitation of 95% of the population at that time. And the 5%, who escaped, yeah, of course they're going to be upset, but what was it they were leaving behind? What was it that the conditions of the people they were leaving behind? The guy who took us on the tour of that home of one of the nobles, he was a descendant of the second-class serfs. Mm-hmm. He would not have been able to own land anymore. Now he has a piece of land. Now he's working. Now he's prosperous. that wouldn't have been possible. You know, so it was this is something interesting that you see popping through in the comments once in a while too.
A lot of people, when they're commenting about stuff about Tibet, but in fact they don't really know about Tibet. They've never been to Tibet. They only know part of the story from the group of people who want to change the narratives about Tibet. But actually, history is another thing. Like the Pala Manor that we visited, like belongs to a noble family that in the past times. We went there. We know how luxurious their life used to be.
Right.
Those nobles,
Out of my imagination.
those nobles before 1959, they owned, like that family. He owns like that big yards, like 37 big yards across whole Tibet, and he owned 3,000 serfs across Tibet.
Yeah.
Like not only the serfs.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that story was that particular owner, when he had 3 children with one of the serfs, the serfs were not able to leave serfdom. They would have always been a serf because of the lineage.
Yeah.
They would never been able to become a noble. So that's how strict the class rules were, that even if a noble had children with a serf, the serfs were considered illegitimate.
Speaks the level of the people at that time, back to that time. But I think the most impressive thing for me is when we get into that room of the lady, the landlady. Oh my God! Back to that year, she got a LV.
Louis Vuitton, cosmetics from France,
French and British.
That's the early 19th. So if you got luxurious stuff from, like imported stuff, that means how wealthy you are.
And cheese, chocolates, the cookies for India.
Yesterday coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Nice.
it's one thing to live a life of luxury. I mean, people can aspire for that, and people can do that. But when you have people working for you that are stuck in that kind of a class system while you're enjoying that kind of luxury, it just it doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
I mean, especially how strict those rules were about even his own kids that were, you know, had a mother who was of that class level, wouldn't allow them to get out of it. Yeah.
所以就是在前几天的时候呢，我们去到了帕拉庄园，在帕拉庄园我们看到了一个就是在西藏一个算是顶级的一个贵族的家庭。这个家庭中呢，他是拥有着非常多的这些皮草呀、名贵的物品啊，都是从国外来的。甚至他的夫人在那么早的时期拥有像 LV 啊，或者是法国、英国一些化妆品。当然，这些都是一些表面上的东西。更可怕是，他其实在西藏是有37座庄园
，37座超级大的庄园，
对，
并且
上千的这种农奴为他服务，而对
这一户人家在全西藏有3000个农奴
，3000个，
一户人家一个贵族家庭有3000户农奴，
对，
关键是有农奴就算了，就是他们对待农奴的这个方式是非常非常的凄惨，
非人道的，
所以其实很多人不知道的是，1959年之前。西藏有一段非常非常黑暗的历史，
对，
那段时间就是比如说贵族当时当权者以及这个僧人只占全西藏的5%的人口，却掌握着全西藏95%的财产和地，但是大部分呢，当时95%的人却都只是这个农奴，没有地。那这个民主改革之后，1959年西藏民主改革之后，那当然这些所谓的富人呐，或者是有出于什么目的，他们逃离了中国。那这些农奴翻身了，他们终于掌握了地，终于可以有自己的这个生活了。包括我们那天去的那个帕拉庄园为我们讲解的那个导游，他就是曾经是
后代，
对，农奴的后代。农奴也分3个等级，他是农奴第2个等级朗生的后代。他就跟我讲，以前他们父母那每天就是在富贵人家这样打工啊干活，那就暗无天日。那确实改革之后，他家就是终于有了这块自己的地，可以自己干活，真是走上了小康生活。他也在那个帕拉庄园做讲解员，做了10几年了，有一份这个相对
稳定的工作，
对，相对稳定的工作。
是，
所以这是西藏的改变啊，对吧？
而且很多人不知道这样的改变，大家只听说过一些关于当时他们对待农奴的时候有一些非常残忍的手段啊，这些东西都只会给大家一瞬间留下印象，说哇，真的很残忍。但是在仔细的去了解这个历史的过程当中，我们发现有更多的故事都在后面。我们也会发现现在他们的生活有多么的好，尽管也许只是一个普通的工作，可是比之前的都好了不知道有多少倍。对
，Yeah, we were talking about this dark history in Tibet before 1959, but many people didn't know about this dark history.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I didn't either. Kind of growing up, you hear it's quite a specific narrative you hear growing up in the West, and that was part of my process also. We know about every country has its difficult times it went through. The rest of China included. And it was a long journey for me to undo the kind of propaganda that I grew up with. And so I remember, hearing the stories of the difficulties during the Cultural Revolution and all this stuff that was going on as well, and knew how difficult everybody's lives were back then. Or even just hearing from my wife's generation when how little they grew up with, and but they loved their country. And they liked their government. And so for the first 5 years that I lived in China, I've lived in China for 12 years, I kept saying, these people are so brainwashed. that was the way I processed it. Absolutely. But then I got to a point where I said, hold on a second, especially living in a city like Shenzhen and seeing how quickly it was developing, just outpacing everybody, and seeing how fast the quality of life was improving, seeing how many people were lifted out of poverty. It took me 5 years of living in China to say, hold on a second, maybe I'm the one who's brainwashed. And so that was my journey, and that's why I kind of take a look a little bit deeper at the propaganda, whether it be about the Hong Kong narrative, the Xinjiang narrative, the Xizang narrative. And it's really interesting what you find underneath it. This is a country that's really trying to do good things for their citizens. And there's going to be bumps along the way. And I think that it would be silly for anybody overseas to think that with the troubled history, with the difficult history, with in the past with the government making mistakes also, that finally the government has found its way. Finally it is bearing fruit. Finally it's lifting many people out of poverty. It's doing all of these things. Why would the Chinese people want to give it up now? They went through a period of suffering with the system. And if that was when they were trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, what's the right way. Why, when it's finally bearing fruit? Why, when the Chinese economy is the second largest economy in the world, set to be the largest economy in the world soon, would they need to give this up now? That's what I think people need to think about.
Yeah. 所以整个其实丹尼尔在他的一些他做的一些关于中国很多的这些 vlog 视频当中，其实丹尼尔他每一次做到关于中国的事情，尤其说到中国正面的事情的时候，经常会被网友攻击，推特上呀或者 Facebook 上都有很多的攻击。但是丹尼尔自己呢，最开始的时候可能也跟普通的一些希望民众有同样的错误的思想，但是当他在深圳住了5年之后，他觉得自己才是那个被洗脑的。他们一直觉得我们是被洗脑的，但实际上他在中国住了5年之后，他看到深圳的一个飞速的发展，以及这是一座多么融合的城市之后，以及中国把成千上万的这种贫困的人民从这个脱贫致富中，就是脱贫致富下来，
也不只是深圳的，在农民的地方也发展了，对整个
中国的农民，他强调的是，所以他就觉得自己才是被洗脑那个。为什么中国要放弃自己已经选择好了的正确道路？为什么呢？就是为什么我们做的正面的就是所谓的宣传，对吧？其实一切都有事实来做。
And I still talk about those stories on my social media also. One of my videos was talking about the difficulty my wife's parents had or her grandparents had growing up, because I think that's an important part of the story too, is to know where did this country come from? What was the starting point, and where are they at now? There needs to be a reference. There needs to be perspective to say, okay, hold on a second, this is going in the right direction. And there's some people that there's no amount of improvement. Because I ask that question too sometimes. I say, how many people need to be lifted out of poverty? How successful does China have to be before you stop saying that people here need to be liberated for some reason? And in relation to the Tibet topic, this is one of the things my overseas Tibetan friend said. He said to me in the favorite message he sent me, he said, you could save 3,000 Tibetan orphans. You could relocate 1,000 Tibetans from an earthquake zone into new homes the next day. And if you spilt yogurt on the table while you were doing it, the only thing they're going to talk about overseas is that you spilt yogurt while doing it. And so, there are some people that are just never going to change their mind. Maybe it will take a few generations to say, maybe there's merit to the way that China's doing things. Yeah. If you look at the Gini coefficient in the U.S., the wealth gap, it is the highest it's ever been in 50 years. China's was continually going down. There was a little bit of a bump up in the last couple of years, but it's still lower than the U.S.'s poverty gap, wealth gap. And so Americans say that their system is the best way to solve these kinds of things. When the Occupy Wall Street protests were going on in the U.S., this is exactly what it was about. it was about the wealth gap. That's why they were protesting. And since that time, it has only become worse. You know, the total number of people were well over thousands and thousands of people that were arrested during that protest, and it's gotten worse. And so that's when I say it doesn't mean America needs to use China's system, but if they're saying that their system is the best way to fix these kinds of things, it is the best way to liberate people, why isn't it working?
Yeah, exactly.
Why isn't it working? Why is that going in this direction and China's going in the other direction? And there needs to be a point, there needs to be a threshold for people where they stop and say, hold on a second. All right, we don't necessarily want to use China's system, but it's obviously working for them. And for some people, I don't think they have that threshold. It doesn't matter, like my friend said, how many orphans are rescued or how many, you know, it's all going to be about the spilt yogurt.
I think no matter it's to Chinese or Chinese government, I think China's not trying to push China's system and ask other countries to adopt China's system. No, like we use China's system because we have our unique situation, unique history. So this system, whatever we are doing now, is working for us, but it's not working for you. So we don't push you to adopt our system.
That's a really, really important point too, because China is not a country that tries to push their political ideologies on other places, whereas other countries, one in specific, does. They try to go around the world spreading democracy and freedom without people actually thinking about what those words mean, without thinking about the underlying meanings. And a perfect example of that is in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was ranked by the Cato Institute as the third freest place on earth, according to measurable freedoms, in terms of size of government, freedom of movement, taxation, all of this kind of stuff, freedom of speech also. And America, who was coming to save Hong Kong, was ranked 17th on the list. And so it's like, you want to bring freedom to Hong Kong. Well, hold on a second. What do you mean by freedom? What define freedom? And nobody's defining this. And it also ties into another important point. So when people talk about, so the biggest comeback is that, well, China has censorship, you know. And so everybody in China knows that there is censorship. But that's the problem, is that they know that there are these political ideologies being pushed on them. They are being, so the situation with Facebook being banned, that was specifically tied to the situation in Xinjiang when that was going on. There was a lot of organization and everything like that going on there. So when we get into a situation when there isn't such an aggressive push for other countries to push their ideologies on China, it would actually, that would be the time when it's easier to open up. So, I mean, there may be some mixed opinions on that. But the other point on that, too, is that people here understand the limitations of media or the limitations of the system. But in America, they don't. They think that they're completely free and that the media isn't controlled. It doesn't matter that they're controlled by a few number of places, organizations. It doesn't matter that the narrative is definitely being controlled online. But there's less awareness that they are being, their ideas are being molded. So, and that creates a situation where, and this is a absolutely obvious point that anybody can understand, the average Chinese person knows more about America than the average American person knows about China. It's created a situation like this.
It's so creepy.
It's the opposite of what people think should happen based on the systems that each side has.
I think it's time to
Announce the names?
Yeah.
Okay, so now is the time for us to announce the winners of CGTN's prizes. But sorry, because we're going to mail those presents to those viewers who commented on our account. So those viewers are mainly in China, domestic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 那现在呢，我们要公布一下我们前段时间抽中的获奖者的名单哈。我们有3样奖品，有明信片，有徽章，有丝巾。那我们已经选中了几位，如果你有可能在看这个直播的话呢，你可能会听到你的名字哦。
对，我们马上就要公布了。
对，那我们现在来公布一下这个获得我们明信片的几个获奖者。
最高邮局的明信片。
对，这个明信片的第一位获奖者叫做米花镇的江户川秀儿，好长的名字。米花镇的江户川秀儿。因为Jingjing是一个微博的网友，因为他跟我们分享了这个他关于西藏知道的一个知识。他比如说他写这个叫做分享个高考地理大题，关于青藏铁路的。青藏铁路格尔木拉萨段成功穿越了约550千米的连续多年冻土区，所以青藏铁路建设者们创造性的提出了低架焊桥、热泵技术、抛石路基等措施。 哇，这个非常有技术性哈，
这个非常厉害。我去年的时候就是走基层的时候去到青藏线，然后哇，这个人真的知道非常多。
这位用户因为是就是跟我们分享了他对于青藏铁路施工的难度的这个知识点的了解哈，所以他获得我们一个明信片。
对，
那么第二一个叫做西西福袋。西西福袋也是一位微博网友，他说呢，他留言是每年冬天布达拉宫呢都会举行持续300多年的外墙粉刷仪式，保护外墙粉刷工作一般都是从白宫、红宫、黄宫依次进行，其他的涂料中会将蜂蜜、奶粉、藏红花等混合到涂料中，那也造就了布宫成为世界上最甜蜜的宫殿。对。看来这个观众不知道是不是看我们的节目？对呀，他知道那个布达拉宫的墙是加入了牛奶、白糖、蜂蜜才做成的。
Oh, that's good, yeah.
对，西西福袋也获得我们的明信片。还有一位叫做 TUDDD， 名字好特别啊 ，TUDDD 微博网友，他讲的是布宫的旱厕。拉了300年还没有满，
这个是不是也看了我们的 tips？
原因是因为那旱厕的位置很高。
Dry style toilet in Potala Palace.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe this user also watched our series about
the tips.
Yeah, he knows that toilet would never cleaned on Potala Palace because of the height.
Yeah.
所以这个 TUDDD 也获得我们的明信片，我可以给大家展示一下这明信片是什么样子哦。
对，
这是来自这个雪域高原的明信片。那今天我们也因为到了珠峰以后，我们也把这个明信片拿去海拔最高的邮局去盖了章。这里有3个章，非常难得的章哈。这章分别是珠穆朗玛峰、西藏定日包括这个西藏珠峰大本营营业。就是完全是来自珠峰的章啊，非常难得。是。那我们已经盖好章了，会把这个明信片寄给我们这几位我们的这个热心网友。
恭喜以上3位获得我们的最高邮局明信片。
耶 ！Presents time。这是这个明信片。我们还有获得丝巾的朋友，丝巾呢是由 CGTN 定制的丝巾。这个丝巾呢是这个非常好的丝巾啊，活佛同款，活佛，我们送给穷部活佛也同样一条丝巾。这个丝巾呢是与这个杭州这个叫什么丝绸局定制的，对不对？然后这上面的图案是我们 CGTN 的艺术家们这个亲手画的，所以是非常独家的版本。第一位获得丝巾的叫做高危蓝猫，应该是一个微博网友了，因为他分享了他的经历，他来西藏支教。
哇
She wants the present because she was to be a volunteer teacher in Tibet.
Oh.
The education in Tibet.
Yeah.
还有第2位网友叫做6岁谈恋爱，
太早恋了，6岁谈恋爱。
不鼓励。但是6岁谈恋爱这位网友也获得了我们的这个丝巾。第3位网友叫做野窗外。他分享了他跟一个西藏女孩的故事。
romantic story.
This person shared the story with a Tibetan girl. Okay, that's why she won the silk as a present to this Tibetan girl. 好的，这3位网友获得我们的丝巾。
恭喜。
我们还有8位网友获得9位10位，我的妈呀！
我们有10位网友获得，
我们有10位网友获得了我们的这个雪域路书的徽章。我们之前在微博上也公布过，我就念一下名字好了哈，因为人比较多。获得雪域路书这个徽章的10位网友，第1名是温妻变身，第2名是紫菜仙女，第3名是好吃南波兔。还是好吃南波兔，
好吃吧，
好吃南波兔。你能看到啊？这是我们的这个已经戴在这个帽子上的一个这个 pin 雪域路书，你们就会收到这个。
为这一次旅行特意定制的，你可以把它安在任何一个地方，包括你的衣服上、背包上啊，还有帽子上，像我们这样。
好吃南波兔。第4名是9分之星。哎呀，9分之星还专门艾特了我的账号，说哎呀，我们这个感觉我们这个队伍好像更耗体力，很不容易，所以支持了我们这个队伍。9分之星，谢谢你。还有罗曼蒂克的 Peter。第6位是星 Amazing Grace。星 Amazing Grace。第7名是我的妈呀，这个名字。
我的妈呀，第7名是我的妈呀。
Carlotta 也是 Estella。Carlotta 也是 Estella， 我不知道我念对了没有啊？但这是她的名字。
对，我们会有小编来专门联系到各位，一定要给我们快速的把地址发给我们。
第8名是 Senior 猪。第9名是海的 A 大调。第10名是 下定决心减肥的 ZXY， 下定决心减肥的 ZXY。这10位网友获得了我们雪域路书独家定制的小徽章1枚，谢谢。好的，我们的这个中奖名单就公布了。我们聊了有多久了？是不是也有1个多小时了？哇，我们已经聊了1个半小时了，哇哦！
我也差不
Sorry,
多
my
了。
mic.
It's okay.
So it's a long conversation, but the conversation will continue, but not today.
Right.
Because tomorrow we're gonna go to the world's highest monastery, which is just across the road for us. So don't miss it. We're gonna show you a tour around this world's highest monastery, and if we're lucky, tomorrow the weather gonna be sunny again. We can see the whole view of Mount Qomolangma. So if we're lucky tomorrow, we're gonna live stream the beautiful scenery of Mount Qomolangma. Okay. So, any final words you want to say to our audiences?
所以呢，到目前为止，我先来吧。所以到目前为止，我们已经直播了1个半小时，也非常感谢大家今天收看我们的直播。今天的直播呢就要接近尾声了，但是明天我们将会去探索就在我们街对面的这个绒布寺，这个呢也是差不多世界上最高的一个寺庙。当时我们会给大家更多的一些视频和信息。Daniel?
Just I hope that we haven't made you too hungry while eating and talking, and I hope you have something tasty in front of you also, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay, stay tuned. Support Red Team Into Tibet 2020. Thank you. Bye. Like continue eating.
继续吃吧。